Mr. Speaker, nice to see you, sir.
So good to be with you. Thank you.
All right, we're going to hear from President Trump. This isn't a State of the Union, though. It's something else. Why?
Well, because he hasn't been in office a year. That's typically when you do a State of the Union. This is officially a joint address. But what I say to everyone is that this president has accomplished so much in the first month that it really is more like a State of the Union. He's going to go through his long list of accomplishments and all the things that he has embarked upon to just change the landscape of the country. We are making America great again. He said he would. He's fulfilling those promises, and he's got a lot to talk about.
All right, you are Speaker of the House, obviously. You know that. I don't have to tell you that. How is it different for you to have President Trump giving the joint address as compared to President Biden giving the State of the Union last year?
So many people have asked me that question because I don't have a very good poker face, and I tried to, maintain decorum and just, have a solemn expression during Joe Biden's speech. But the last one he gave, everyone remembers, it was like an angry campaign speech, and that's not what State of the Unions are supposed to be about. I couldn't help but show a few facial expressions, and they turned into 1,000 memes online, and it became a thing. I'm excited about this one because I'll be smiling and cheering along because what President Trump is talking about are the things we all believe in and what we've promised our own voters that we'll deliver. And he's coming in and he'll be able to show the receipts, and that's an exciting thing for the country, and it'll be a great night for all of us.
I take it he hasn't previewed this with you.
I've had a little preview of,
you have?
What some of the contents of the speech are going to be, and it's great stuff. He could go for 3 or 4 hours, with all the accomplishments.
Might he?
I don't think he will. I think he'll keep it in a reasonable amount of time, but he'll leave a lot on the table because there's so much he could talk about, so many things he's done.
Is it going to be rally-esque, do you think?
Oh, on our side it will be. It'll be like a pep rally. Republicans are excited, and the country is excited. If you look at the polling on what the president is doing and what he's accomplishing, it's off the charts. And he got a record number of votes in this round. Of course, he won the Electoral College and 77 million popular votes. We rode his coattails in some respect, and the House Republicans got 74.8% of the vote, which popular vote, 74.8 million votes, which is the largest vote total that we've ever had, House Republicans. So he's delivering for the people. They gave him a mandate. We're following through with that to codify all the things he's doing with all these executive orders and executive actions. It's a great thing for the country. We're turning it around.
All right, executive actions, though, orders can be reversed by the next president. So he's dependent on some legislation being passed.
Yes, and we're going to be working to codify as many of those executive orders as is possible, and then we'll be putting into law all the other provisions and the changes that we're making. For example, the DOGE cuts. I was meeting with Elon Musk in his office a week ago, very late in the night. He and President Trump don't sleep, so I don't get to sleep either. But we were
in the office. They called you.
Oh no, he was in the office.
What time is this?
Well, it was let's see, last Tuesday night. We passed the resolution, the budget resolution on the floor. I had 2 fundraiser dinners back to back, and then I went to begin the meeting with Elon at 10 p.m. And I think we met till about 11:30 in his office. These guys are working around the clock, I mean, literally. And he was telling me some of the most exciting things, that he genuinely believes that he can find us $1 trillion in savings from fraud, waste, and abuse alone this year. That will change the way we do the budgeting process. It will restore the founders' original envision of a smaller federal government that's more closely overseen by Congress, because now his algorithms are inside the belly of the beast of the bureaucracies, and they're finding things that we could never have found on our own. So it's very exciting. But I told him, I said, Elon, what I've got to do is a 3-step process. I have to qualify what you're doing and then quantify it, give it real numbers, and then codify it. And so we're beginning to work together to make that process streamlined so we can get this done and make it permanent, as you said, so that it can't be changed by the next administration.
But, it's a lot easier. You and I have discussed this before, and you've probably discussed it with a lot of people, and I think it's important for the American people to know, is that your job would be incredibly easier to deliver on whatever mandate President Trump has if you had a large majority. You don't.
No.
And so how do you begin to carry out his executive orders and enact them into law when you've got that, 1 or 2 or 3?
Well, we have an interesting phenomenon right now. We have probably one of the most aggressive legislative agendas in the modern era, maybe in decades. Very important legislation we've got to get done. We have a short window of time in which to do it, and we have the smallest margin imaginable. I have about a 1-vote margin for much of the first 100 days of the Congress. So it's a lot. It takes a lot of work. I've got to sit down with my 218 colleagues and work through their problems and concerns and get them to yes. And we have a very diverse caucus. You know, I told my friends in the Senate, you know, Leader Thune over there, John Thune, has a larger margin of Republicans in the Senate than in the House. That's the first time we can remember that that's ever been the case. And it's sort of a paradigm shift for the way Washington works. And I said, I've got to remind you, my friend, I also have 160 plus additional personalities to deal with than you do, because it's only got 53 Republicans in the Senate. And we have a much more diverse caucus. You know, we've got people from districts that are rated R plus 26, and we go all the way up to people who are elected in D plus 11 districts. So they look at the same set of problems from very different lenses, and I've got to find the equilibrium point to deliver every single one of those votes. And we work on it every day.
How do you do? I mean, yes, it sounds. You make it sound sort of easy and smooth, but the fact is that you get one or two stubborn people, and then you got a problem.
Yes, I joke only. I'm only half joking when I say that half of my day is spent as a mental health counselor. I mean, really, I just sit down with all my friends and colleagues, and I genuinely love all these folks. But they're very passionate about their views. They're very passionate about the needs and desires of their constituents, and we want them to be. But it takes a lot of work to get people to yield a little bit. You know, I've always thought of myself as a Reagan Republican, and you and I have talked about this before, but he gave us a lot of things to remember. He said, you know, I'd rather get 80% of what I want than go over the cliff with the flag waving, you know. We're not all going to get everything we want. No, it's impossible in a deliberative body with 435 members. And so making people come to that reality and be willing to give a little is kind of the art of this thing, but we'll continue to get it done.
President Trump said he was going to do all these things during the campaign, and he's done a lot with executive orders in this first number of days. Are there some other things on the horizon that you expect to hear from him?
Yes, he's going to exercise every bit of executive authority that he has, and he's going to work with us very closely, and we are working together very closely to deliver the legislative agenda. And this one big beautiful bill we keep talking about.
Is that going to happen?
It's going to happen. It has to happen because.
And in the House, it has.
Well, right. Well, we got the resolution done, and that is the beginning of the process to get the reconciliation package put together, and that begins in earnest now. We'll have 5 or 6 weeks of very vigorous debate to determine where that equilibrium point is on everything. But we've got to make sure the border is secure, and we're deporting the illegal criminal aliens. We've got to get American energy dominance going again, and we know how to do that with permitting reform and leasing and the rest. We've got to deliver on the economy. I mean, if we don't get this bill done, if we don't accomplish this mission, the American people are going to have the largest tax increase in U.S. history at the end of this year when the Trump-era tax cuts expire. And you're talking about the average American household's taxes going up to 22% or up 22%. I think it's about 26 million small businesses. Their tax rates, federal tax rate, would go up to 43+%. We could lose $1 trillion in GDP and 6 million jobs. I mean, that's just one component of the bill, that if we don't succeed, that's what would happen. So we have no margin for error. At the same time, we want to cut down the size and scope of government through regulatory reform. And we've got to restore peace through strength. So when we say one big, beautiful bill, we mean that.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Nice to see you, sir.
It's a delight.
People think news just happens. It doesn't. It happens because there's someone there to capture the moment, to explain it and share it. That's my job. I go where news breaks and give you the facts. Join me for The Record on Newsmax.